accountability. This is what this video and others that will come after is about. Once in a while, we got to get into reality and say, hey, let me look at myself. This is more about the internal practice, the reality of human experience, because we all deserve to feel better and to thrive in our lives and put things in place so that we can do that. Just putting on my socks. Hello, fam. How are you today? So winter, we are in the thick of it, which actually I love. This is a good time of year for me. Okay, so getting on today, because I have decided to begin my journey of healing. It's more of a continual journey of healing, and I'm actually loving this aspect of it because now I am approaching it from a place of what I know now, meaning in my training, in my career, what I've learned from working on others, as well as book learning. And just because a yoga teacher or a body worker or a massage therapist know a lot of things, it doesn't always mean that we're perfect, right? And I think that's also important for therapists to realize as well. I think sometimes we get into that portion of ego mind that makes us feel like, oh, I already know that, or, I know what to do, or, it can't be this with me. I don't know if that part makes sense, but it's like, I've also studied psychology, and I've also realized that the ego structure in that field as well, it's, when it comes to cognitive stability, or just that platform, when it comes to ego and how much we know, and we're the doctor or the licensed or the trained therapist, what we know doesn't apply to us. All of this is bull hockey, like, for real. I hate to be corny and use that, but that was what came up because I don't curse. But anyway, many of you who know me know that. Anyway, once in a while, we got to get into reality and say, hey, let me look at myself, right? And I know for me, I was kind of forced into a situation where I had to look at myself. After 2 babies, I think that ego platform for me, especially after my first, well, I don't have to get into doing yoga. I don't have to, because, I've been little all my life. I've been skinny all my life. And, I've had people come up to me and say, oh, one day you're going to wish, or, oh, I wish I was as skinny as you. And, and you're just like, okay, whatever. It's not going to affect me. I don't know if that makes sense either. But anyway, but after my first baby, after my first pregnancy, my body started to transform in a way that I was not used to, but I just thought I was going to automatically bounce back. I should know better, but, and so when I look back on the pictures of my postpartum at that point, I actually wasn't that bad, but in my mind I was like, okay. But also in reality too, to be really honest with you, it's not even that easy of what I should have known better, because other things start to hit, like depression, hormone changes that starts to disrupt certain signals. I actually went through a lot of fatigue. I actually went through a lot of self-doubt. I went through a lot of things that, yeah, I knew about, but I didn't realize I was going through until hindsight. And I look back, I was like, oh my God, like I seriously had postpartum depression and I didn't realize it at the time. And with my first, that took me 4 years. And I realized I needed to get up to do something and to kind of reinvigorate my mind, my energy. And that's when I went off back to Kripalu to study massage therapy, just to have something to do, just to have like an intensive, stay for a month, recalibrate my life and my energy, my spirit, and fell in love with the art of massage and decided to continue to get my certification and then eventually my license. And so that was such a blessing, and I seriously did fall in love with that path. Now comes the second, the second baby. And I went through even more challenges because I'm an older mom. My first baby I had at 33, my second at 42. So, as I mentioned, the things that you don't realize that might hit, like fatigue and depression and things of that nature. The other factor for me was my metabolism was different because I'm getting older as a woman. And so the bounce back is not like if I was in my 20s or even in my early 30s. So I went through a whole host of new challenges with my body. And the depression hit me even more, although the difference between my first and my second was that my first I was not working. I got to stay home with that baby, be with that baby all the time. He was a great breastfeeder, so I didn't have any challenges around that. But my second, I was working. I was in a management position, and my husband got to stay with the baby like I did with the first. But for this one, breastfeeding was challenging, and so a whole host of new challenges with that postpartum of that pregnancy. So again, after the 4 years of that baby, I need a change. But I think a change kind of was forced upon us as a family, not just with me, but as a family, husband, 2 kids. And we actually moved away from Massachusetts and gave up our home that we bought. And so, bam, right back into the boiling pot of sinking into depression and anxiety and body morphing into something I just didn't recognize. Not a whole lot of energy, stamina is very low. So I went through a lot. And then on top of that, being faced with the fact that my mom was not doing well health-wise. She was entering into dementia. We were not getting a whole lot of help from the medical community, and it was challenging. And honestly, I really give it to my sister. She was the champion in all of this. I was trying to help, but again, apparently my postpartum stuff doesn't happen until 4 or 5 years after baby's born. And I think I was going through a lot. I wasn't eating well, meaning that there were days that I didn't eat until dinner, or I was, I had coffee in the morning, no food, and then dinner, and then, late dinner, 8, 9 o'clock. So my body morphed into even more like strange, I don't recognize you, I don't feel you anymore type of thing. As cognitive diseases do, my mom got even worse. And last year she succumbed to her illness and passed away. And so, now it's like really coming down for myself of, oh my God, like what am I doing? I'm out of my career. I'm not working. I'm not doing a whole lot. And so I needed a change. So I decided to go back to Kripalu again to find myself again. And I did. And now I am at a point of what I know now, that I can contribute to a pathway of healing. So it's not a matter of that ego structure, studying psychology, studying yoga and massage therapy and a lot of different body works and science around it, and thinking that I don't need that knowledge for my personal self. More so, I need it more than ever now. And it is a benefit because it helps me to better help someone else, right? Because now I can feel it. It's not so much that I'm book learned and I'm where you're supposed to, have this reaction and you're supposed to feel this. No, now I know. So like I said, if you didn't do the calculations at this point, like I'm in my 50s, knocking on the door of menopause. And so things like frozen shoulder, if I'm working with someone with frozen shoulder and I start suggesting all these things and they're like, I'm not doing that, I can't do that, this is way too painful. Now I know, right? Now I'm coming from that perspective of experience. So there's a lot. Anyway, I'm not going to make this all about I kind of did, but I don't want to continue on that route. Maybe that's another conversation that we can get more into. So basically this video is after I've said all of that, so that you can understand this journey of healing. No, I'm not that visual yoga practitioner with that very thin body who could do all the postures in extreme. This is more about the internal practice, the reality of human experience, and what to do with the knowledge I've gained and apply it. Hope that makes sense. And so the other thing is, I know that personally, my structure, who I am, I'm not all that great with discipline. I'm not all that great with sticking to something. And this is the result of that. But what I also know is, and why I'm not going to be ashamed of that, is I know there are a lot of other people who have a very similar experience or makeup. So maybe this is more so for them, because we all deserve to feel better and to thrive in our lives and put things in place so that we can do that. So I'm praying that I can be that inspiration for others who are very similar. So, accountability. This is what this video and others that will come after is about: self-accountability. And for me, after 2 big babies, both of my babies were over 9 pounds. Pre my first baby, I was 90 something pounds at 5'1". So my frame was very vata. My frame was very little. And then I had this 9.5 pound baby that was 21 inches in 9 hours, right? Everything was very fast. We could fairly say that my body went through some trauma with that. A very beautiful blessing that came out of that, but in the moment, trauma. And then the second baby was bigger than that, 9.6. Also 21, but this time 4 hours. So a lot of trauma to this body. And as a result, I ended up with diastasis recti. And so basically what that means is that in the abs, if the muscle structure naturally or in a balance, if the muscles look like this, let's put it more like this, after the trauma to my midsection, my muscles have now spread apart in the abs, and mine is mostly at the top. So some people have the whole of the abs split apart, some just at the bottom. Mine is at the top. So this healing focus is going to be on working with that, because I think it plays a huge role in my core. On top of that, I understand these recent 5 years prior of not taking care of myself, not eating well, that I have accumulated visceral fat, which is dangerous actually, especially for older women. But for men and women, visceral fat can be dangerous for our health, for our heart health, as well as organ functions and all of that. So I know I had that to contend with. So with the ab muscles apart and the visceral fat, it's also created a very interesting lordosis in my low back. So to help my core so that I can be stronger and have better balance, and with the work that I do, to be stronger in that as well. So come with me if you like on this journey of working with that and the approaches that I will be taking, yoga therapy of course, and body work as well. So these are the things that I will be implementing in my care, and if they inspire and help you, that's awesome. If you are in the local area of the Berkshires and you feel a little more disconnected with mind, body, and want to know what it feels like for those areas to be worked on, come see me into the Spirit Healing Arts or ishealingarts.com to book an appointment, and then I can help you with that. But if you just kind of want to follow me on this journey, just kind of see how things turned out. And this is a little bit of science, right? A little bit of studying. Does this stuff actually work? And so you can see me now, and we'll look at if any improvements that have been made. So I'm actually very excited. I'm praying that my stamina will hold. I already talked about the lack of discipline, so we'll see if I'll continue with these videos and but you know, I'm hoping for the best. So hope for the best with me. So yeah, so we're gonna work on diastasis recti. I'll write it at the bottom, and with some yoga therapy, definitely will include some breath work like pranayama, meditation, as well as yoga nidra, and any body work treatment that I can do on myself will do. Something like integrated positional therapy. So, all right. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye.